I think today we're spending more time just cleaning up the data than actually getting the what we need.
Welcome to the Connected Shopfloor podcast, where we explore real stories and big ideas that keep the factory floor buzzing.
I really enjoyed this episode where I talked with a friend of mine, a longtime friend, about how the global supply chain is evolving. Is AI actually something that it's going to enter the production lines or not? And a lot of continuous improvement. And there will be stories about how companies plant their factories close to borders in order to sell their products and raw materials in different ways. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Marco Chan, and this is the Connected Shop Floor podcast. To kick off our conversation, I came across here a report about markets and markets that is projecting that the global sterilization services market will reach 5.5 billion by 2029. That means growing 6% a year. Now, I do understand that we have stricter regulation at the moment, rising healthcare demand, but does that actually compensate the post-pandemic slowdown? Where is this growth coming from?
So look, I started in this company right during COVID. So it was something new for me and for everyone. Like there was, what is this COVID? It's going to impact everything like in the world. In healthcare, when I started, they told me, don't panic. We're in healthcare. So it's needed. Uh, Of course, there was a spike in sterilization in the business that I told you before. There's a business of applied sterilization. There was a big spike. Everyone wanted to sterilize personal protection equipment, uh, emergency medical equipment. And of course, there was a spike everybody wanted. The growth on healthcare, the growth of sterilization, as I see it, is all the market, as you read the market research, how do you see it? It's not just cyclical because of COVID. It's something more structural. So there's more regulations, there's more needs, there's more procedures in hospitals. So this is something that, yes, post-pandemic made people think, becoming more proactive than reactive. During COVID, it was like, whoa, we need to do it. Now it's more and more. We see it in our business. There's more proactivity. So now we're even in us as a business provider, a product provider, a service provider, we're going into more structural things. Hey, we need to be in advance of what's coming, because you see with this new world, new technologies, new ways of working, new communication. So we need to be more in advance.
Yeah, I do understand that, and the sterilization industry where you work in, from my understanding, it's a very tough industry because you have to be precision and reliability are crucial, right? They are under the microscope. So for someone that is working on transformation, continuous improvement, such as yourself, how do you see innovation in such an industry that it's so regulated? Is it possible to move fast, change things, or you have some handcuffs all the time?
Well, there's as I see it, there's a couple of things. So we need to understand the context between American companies or American industry and regulations and European industry and regulations. So as I see it, if you want to develop something in the US, they said the US designs, Europe regulates, and China produces. That's how they see it in the world, like in all industries.
Lawyers and engineers, right?
Yeah. So in the US, I read something really interesting about how strategies in this, for example, this industry, it's velocity against consensus. In the US, go fast, fail fast, learn fast, do it. Of course, there's regulation, there's healthcare, there's human factor at the end. It's a human that can be impacted. It's a non-sterilized instrument can impact life, right? But also when you're developing, you want to go fast because everything evolves so fast. You cannot have like 2, 3, 4, 5 years new product development cycles. That's the US. But when you put it in Europe, there's a lot of consensus. There's 27 countries, languages, cultures. There's more regulation. It's like, hey, let's go on consensus. Let's discuss. Do we want it? Can we do it? Are you sure? Have you tested? So that's the part. Then the second part that I saw is the market size. In the US, 300 million people or more. It's a big market. That's enough for us.
Yeah.
Europe is complexity, not
Hmm.
as big, but really complex. So you need to be really thinking about that. Then you have the communication part. In the US, let's communicate fast, loud, show. Let's make it a thing. In Europe, we need to be more how to communicate, where to communicate, which channels. Do we use town halls? Do we use face to face? Really regulated communication. So when you say this innovation, yes, it happens for new products, new product development, faster cycles, products that you can use faster in their cycles for sterilization, but needs to be really regulated. Now more and more it's regulated. We're not handcuffed, so we need to, as I was saying before, you need to be proactive, knowing the law, knowing the market.
Yeah, I understand that, and I would love to then unpack a little bit the difference between cultures, and as you brought up is quite interesting. Before going there and looking more in terms of production itself, like that's what we love,
Yeah.
and on operational side, from your end, I do understand that you have even a saying that every product is identical, so it has to be exactly the same product over and over again, and I can imagine you produce a lot of them. Um, Constantly. So, how do you maintain this constancy? Uh, is it more with automation, process controls? Do you have human oversight? Uh, How is this possible to have every product exactly identical?
Well, we have the different kind of product families. So, of course, you have consumables, you have capital equipment. We have a really different model from what I have in experience on business transformation, continuous improvement. This company, we have, let's say, a vertical team. We're business wide. It's not only production. So we're trying to do this link between from the order, from the need from the customer to the delivery to the customer, installation, the commissioning, and the feedback from the customer. So how do we maintain this? We go back to standards, right? We're pushing a lot in standards, but standards from not only from the production people, standards on how you place an order, how do you do the voice of the customer, how do we understand that need of the customer. Then we go into operations, that constantly pushing people into operations to follow standards, create the standards. The standard, it's something that evolves. It's not because 20 years ago someone created this factory line and they told us how to do it. Things changes, material changes, people changes. There are new generations, new ways of working. So we continuously ask people to challenge the status quo. I don't agree with the standard. I see like the tool is different. I see my work instruction is different. Let's update it. It's standard has to be alive. Is the best practice at the moment. Is not the best practice that was 20 years ago. So that's how we maintain this. Of course, there will be innovation, there will be other tools, there will be other trainings, but for me, it's the standard work. Respect the standard work, be accountable of the standard work.
It brings me back to my initial question. If you have so many standards from purchasing to production, and you're there, you're looking at a line, you see, we need to change something. Let's put here a 1 point lesson, and let's have a standard operating procedure here differently. That has to go through regulation. I think that has to have QA involved, quality assurance, and people signing on that. Doesn't that stop that daily transformation, speed, momentum that everyone is thinking and challenging the status quo, when in the end you might think, but that will take so long to implement that it actually takes you the motivation out?
Well, there's a right balance all the time. What we're trying to do in transformation, where what we do, we have this cross-functional. So when we're doing the standard, it's not like, hey, you identify something, quality updated, put it in the system, the QMS system. We involve people from quality. We try to do new production lines with quality at the source, right? So it's not like, hey, now quality needs to release all the product because we pass it through. It's like identify the quality of the source. So when we create the standard, it's live. Hey, we do a Kaizen event, update the standard in the Kaizen event. Fast transformation during the event. In the week of the event, we try to get as much as possible done during the event. So we don't have action plans for 6 months and then like validate, approve, and put in the system. Is like we involve the people. Second day, hey, what are we going to transform? Call quality. Do you agree? Do you support us? Yes, no. do it fast. Otherwise, people start like, again an event, again a change in standard, again in change of deal. We never stop. But once they understand the benefit, they also come to you and say like, hey, I identified something, can we update it? And
Mhm.
that's when you, as a transformation lead or continuous improvement person, you see like, okay, it's working because they understand the benefit. It's not just that we want to slow them down or block them or tell them not to do. So is those involvement of the people
Yeah,
that
but when you say that, when you have a Kaizen event, do you always bring QA and the people that will regulate afterwards and make sure those standards are maintained, or do they come on a later stage?
we so when we do on the floor, it's always trying to do the cross-functional team that it's involved in the process, whoever is will be impacted by the change of the process, whoever is a supplier of information of the process or a customer of the process internally. And we always have daily debriefs. So at the end of the day, we bring, for example, quality manager, production manager, supply chain manager, HR. Some people want to get involved and see like, hey, what's going on? Because if you change a process or a layout in the production line, you will change also people's routines, and there will be this mental change and this psychological change. Like, oh, so HR needs to be involved, quality needs to be involved, and they need to understand and also approve and also come up with ideas and remove roadblocks. So it's not just us because I said I'm a continuous improvement manager, let's do it. No, we have this alignment. It takes time. It takes time to make people understand the benefits of it.
And now you're a multinational company, and you have so many different sites and teams that you personally manage across all of these regions. And I know that STERIS has grown a lot built on merger and acquisitions, right? So how and that for me is very important because it's different mentality, ways of working. How are you able to bring this energy, this type of work and Kaizen events and way of thinking on all these different regions and different ways of working that were done previously?
So I was saying we're a team on business transformation that it's we report to operations, right? We have a vice president, we have a president of operations, vice president of continuous improvement, business transformation. So we do a lot of share of best practices. We have a monthly meeting with the global team. When we do Kaizen events, we have different Kaizen events, local Kaizen events, like really is the site that decides. We have a scope, we have a problem a statement, deliverables, objectives. And then we have something, we have executive Kaizen event, something that will change the region, that it will impact the region. So on more the business part, for example. Um, and that's where we bring people. Recently, we had one that we had people from all over the world. We had the event in Italy, we had people from Australia, from Mexico, from Brazil, from the US, from Canada, France, Italy, Germany.
That's costly, right? How do you decide to do that? I can imagine that's costly. People are not working during that time. They have to fly, stay in hotels, and all of that for something that is not that tangible in the beginning.
Yeah.
How do you sell that internally?
So when we do the scoping of the process, is like, what is the meat of this? What is the return of investment? What will be the benefit? Is like, look, for this initiative, we identify that we're losing X amount of dollars, millions if you want, or not winning something. Do we invest in fixing the process and putting everyone together? We know it's a cost, it's an investment. It's not a cost, it's an investment as I see it. And it will come back with returns because a global process that everyone can use, that everyone can understand, it will bring you that value that you're not winning, or that dollar, that market that you don't have today. So internally, when you have local Kaizen events, it's either because there was a safety issue that is like, hey, there's a safety issue, we need to fix the process. There's a quality issue, there's no way we cannot fix it. Stop, fix it. Otherwise, you send a bad product, as you said, like that can harm someone. So that's when you try to convince, you have the sponsors, you have a really good problem statement that has like facts and figures that will have benefits. It goes through a process. We have a full process on defining the Kaizen event. It's not just like, hey, next week, let's do one. It can go for months.
I completely understand that, and you touch on the business side quite a bit. And that's something that for me, when I started, and we actually know each other from Barry Calvat, where we work together in the same area.
Yeah.
And when I was there and I was doing this improvement from factory to factory, it was very hard for me to get my head out of the sand and think, where is the company actually making money? Where is the company? Where is it the added value of the business side? And I was more focused on the operational efficiency. And actually, in this case, for instance, Barry Callebaut, cocoa and sugar prices were actually key factors. And sometimes it looked like more a commodity a trader company than actually a production efficiency. So how important is this to bring to all of these teams how the company is making money? And in your case, you have different areas of business units, so to say, so different ways of making money. How do you bring that mentality inside the company?
I think that example, if I may add for the Barricada, what I think this we discussed, it was really interesting, and also for me when I was in operations, you're in a production, you're like, wow, I'm producing a lot of chocolates, like so cool. But then you realize, well, how come we're receiving a liquid chocolate from Canada? We're in the U.S. Or why do we receive sugar from Mexico? You're in Canada or in the U.S. It's like then you start understanding the dynamics of the business. It's like, oh, you say it's a commodity. Like if we bring sugar with 1% of cocoa powder inside, it's not a longer a commodity. It's not sugar. It's a semi-finished product, right? So you understand, like, now you can use it, import it in the US and pay less tariffs. And right now, tariffs is a big thing, right?
Because you're no longer importing it as a raw material, you're already importing it as a semi.
I finished, yeah, semi-finished. So it's like it is those intercompany, say law, because it's a law. It's an you cannot not make profit out of it. So you need to make sure like you find that way. So right now in our company, if I can see it, is we have factories in Canada, in Mexico, in Europe, in Asia. Is like those. There's really smart people in those teams, in compliance teams, for example. Talking about Americas, if you think about the North America Free Trade Agreement or the ALENA or NAFTA, I don't know how they call it in different regions. You need to think in the future to say, like, if I'm going to open operations in another country, how will I bring those products into the US or into my country? So you need to make sure you have everything in the picture. It's not just like produce because it's cheaper or want to say it, but is what is the benefit? How do I mitigate that risk? So with compliance, with regulations, with the law, with the supply chain, the intercompany sales, the Incoterms, do I produce and the customer picks up, or do I produce and I send them? If it's by plane, if it's by boat, what is the best? So you need to analyze all that. So that's when you realize the business is it. Am I really just selling something, or I'm analyzing the full picture into the
Whole
actual
supply chain.
business?
So you're building a supply chain based on that. Also, you're selling intercompany, right? To sell it from inside the company from one factory or one site to another one, right? And but does that not create disalignment in terms of the whole group thinking and acting the same? And maybe I'm more thinking about my own site, my own region, than the broader scope.
I mean, the ideal world, if you want to say it like that, would be: can I produce in each country the same product? It's like, well, your cost will be more disaligned that everything you will need to have supported by country. You need to have like designed by country in any industry. Uh, so in this, when you have these intercompany sales, these frameworks where you can protect yourself as a company, that you transport and transfer one product from one country to the other, it's just about the alignment goes into the communication, the strategies, having these strategies at the beginning of the year between countries, the forecast, so you don't just call one of the countries and, hey, I need a product next week. So if you have this alignment, that's what I say, we're business wide when we start like, hey, what is the need of the customer? What is the need of the market? And where are we sourcing from? Are we sourcing from Europe? Are we sourcing from America? What is the best way? And there's a lot of people doing these kind of mappings and plannings that helps that alignment.
Yeah, and that's, as you said in the Berekalbat case, then it leads up to having factories close to borders in order to have better ways of selling your product. and it's super interesting. But you talked about a little bit to the food and beverage sector, which is the Barry Callebaut one, and now to one year in, which is the healthcare. How do you see this different context? Is that actually something that you can bring from one side to the other one, or did you have to reinvent your practices and your approach to the way you're developing and transforming to day-to-day operations?
I think there's the things like we can replicate methodologies for continuous improvement. Of course, for me a process is a process. I was in chocolate, then inside the chocolate I think you live the same thing. Like we moved to cocoa business, and they would say, "Oh, but you don't know cocoa. We're in chocolate. We
Exactly.
were in chocolates. Like it's a
Yeah,
process.
yeah, yeah.
It's a process." Then I moved to
Even within that small environment, small, let's say, you already see such a big difference than when
yeah.
it's
I moved to pharmaceutical. They told me like, "Yeah, but you're not even in pharma. It's a process. It's like for me, it's a process. But how to replicate operations, a process, a machine, a training, a standard? It's the same. For me, the difference between healthcare and food industry is that I would say it's a product. So healthcare, both are important, right? Food, you eat it. Your children can eat the chocolate and can be a problem, and it can be really really bad. Healthcare, it's a hospital, it's a surgery, something that can also harm really bad people. But it's more about the something that replicates, as I said, the standards, and something that we always focus is the human factor. That's something that you can replicate everywhere. In the human factor is listen to the people doing the work, listen to their needs, listen to what they see. They're the experts. I come to a factory that I never seen. I was in Portugal recently where I saw you. My first thing was like, what do you need as a factory? It's not what do I want to implement, because I can say, oh, let's implement one piece flow and this and that, but is that what they need? So for me, it's that the part, no matter where in which industry, it's that part that we need to always replicate, that engagement.
Yeah, I completely see that. And it brings me actually to the next question I had for you, which is thinking about the connected factory, right? When we think about that, and you're doing this for 17 years, you look like a very young gentleman, but you already have some years in. So my question is, when we look at the connected factory, and which is everything is connected, centralized data, I can, understand that with the many people I have and look at the organization right now where you have 18,000 employees. How do you nurture that knowledge from each person? Are we actually connected, or we are still far away from that?
So it's really interesting. Last week I had the chance to participate in Amsterdam in a business transformation summit. Uh, there were CTOs, chief transformation officers, and VPs of transformation, directors of transformation, but like all industry. And there was one of the panels talking about the industry 4.0 versus industry 5.0. I didn't even know that existed already. So there was a discussion panel, and I was like, okay, I mean, really interesting. What is this? Well, there was a guy that was a master's in 4.0 industry. He did his thesis, and I was like, okay, really interesting. They say, are we prepared to go to 5.0? Is your industry, your factory, your company prepared? And they said, like, digital. 4.0 was all about digital, digitizing the factories, the data, and everything. Now, are we ready to 5.0? And say, what is 5.0? Well, apparently, it's the human factor. It's like, are humans ready to take decisions based on the data or the insights you get from the data? And I challenged one of the guys, said, like, there will be in my industry, in my factories, like, we're almost zero digitized factories. It's a lot of assembly and a lot of bending and banging and a lot of manual things. Yes, we have reports, but we don't get much data in most of the factories out of the machines. Can we do it? Yes, we could. But for the moment, for me, it's not a requirement to have 4.0 to go 5.0. It's more about understanding your process to take decisions.
Mhm.
The more data you get, the better. But it's not a requirement. Are we ready to digitize? This summit was really into AI. Are we ready to AI? And I was like, okay, like, what am I doing here? We're not ready for AI. We're using ChatGPT. That's it. Is it a requirement to digitize? Are we there yet? No. Are we going there? We need. different degrees, different levels in the organization. But for me, it's different needs.
So more decisions. I want to take. I look at it like an orange. Now I don't want the orange. I want the juice. I want to understand what do I can take value out of this. When you look into your processes and the information you have available, do you think that you're there, you get into insights, or you're still bombarded with a bunch of data that you cannot control? And in the end of the day, it's more noise than actually helping you out.
I think today we're spending more time just cleaning up the data than actually getting the what we need. There's a lot of need of training us and training people on understanding data and how to transform data into information. What I see, for example, now we're talking about data in our industry and predictability, how to predict predictive maintenance or predict the equipments in the hospitals. Can we do service before? Can do we predict the failure, especially in Europe, as I see it with all the GDPR regulations, data protection? It's almost the data scarcity. That's what they call it, right? There's a lot of hey, I need to go into your hospital to get the data, to pull the data. It's like, oh, no. So it's like for you as a provider in any industry, you want to help, but there will be that fear. Still, that's the fear. Like, why you want to get into my systems? What data are you gonna get? You're gonna get patients' data. You're gonna get my insights, right? There's also the cyber security fears. We're gonna be hacked. There's been a lot of cases, hospitals, banks, schools that are hacked. So now you're ready. My company is ready. Your company is ready to have these deployments of AI, but then you cannot get the data that you need because of regulations. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I see.
I can imagine that that's a hard one. Regulation coming in, and we see that on the highest level being discussed. Right, Europe has a different approach than the US. But when you talked about the human factor, mistakes that happen, and maybe before going to data, you might go into automation, right, and start automating. But then you need the data in order to understand what you should be automating. So it's a little bit hard. Yeah. But people versus automation, how do you see that on the production sites? Can we continue on automating and taking that human factor out? Will we still need humans in order to oversight our production? How do you see that evolving?
I'm pro automation. I like automation in all levels: physical, machine automation, process automation, business process automation. But you need the human factor. You still need the human. One guy said like this last week. This is like, he said, all wine, new label, right? Is like automation and AI and machine learning and stuff like that. I said like automation with a human touch. It's I always give the example, like you can have the best washing machine at your house, the best in the world, connected with Wi-Fi that you're in doing supermarket, you activated, but still you need to come and take out the clothes, right? Mm-hmm. And put it in.
Exactly.
Right? It's the most simple example. That your dishwasher, your washing machine is like, you can have the best, but you still have that human. In industry, you still have to move stuff. Unless you have unlimited resources, that you're on Amazon, stuff like that they like everything is automated, like really, really amazing. I would say 90% of the industry in the world is not there yet. We don't have unlimited resources. So we need that collaboration. We can have robots, but we need to set up the robots. You can have transpallets that are automatic and these robots that go around the factory. You need to set them up. You need to pull whatever he's bringing to you. I visited Toyota. I saw these robots walking around, driving around the factory, bringing the seats, bringing the panels, there's still one guy taking it from the robot to install it in the machine. And then there's a robot that will screw it or weld it. So I'm into that collaboration, that human automation collaboration. Yeah.
But do you think that do we already have the technology there and it's only a matter of resources, of money? Or is the technology still missing? So the robots are not as flexible as we are to do many different type of movements. The also speed, reliability of the movements being done. Is that the case, or is it really just about money? The return on investment is not there yet.
It's again like depends on the practical use, but I think the technology is there. We've seen many nice things. You're into more technology. You've seen more than me with your company, but the technology is there. And again, the resources are not there yet. The return of investment to have do we have the volumes? Do we have the production volume? Do we have the needs? Do we understand the market to say like, yeah, you said the report from the growth of healthcare. Yes, it's a really nice report. I've seen many reports that by 2040 it's going to grow 30%, but it's the forecast is still like really on healthcare is really unknown.
Okay.
So robots, automation, the technology is there in our industry. I think we're still far to say like let's automate the factories because we have constant production. Yeah, it's far.
We're changing a little bit topics. We talked a lot about sustainability, not sustainability. We talked about a lot about regulation, and that leads also me thinking about a little bit of sustainability in this industry. And something that is astonishing to me is when I see medical products and they have to be sterilized, right? So I go to my dentist, and he needs to open a lot of different plastics where different stuff tools are inside. And in the end, all of that plastic is just being thrown out away just because I didn't floss properly. So that leads me up to thinking, how sustainable can this industry be?
So actually, there was a speaker last week about ESG, environmental, social, and governance. How it's growing these things. We participate in a lot of tenders, it's like public tenders and private tenders. So now more and more, and she was saying like this in the industry in general, 80% of the surveys says that year over year the questions about ESG are growing for any business. We see those questions in the tender questionnaires from hospitals that would say, how much percentage of your plastic is organic when you produce this? Like, what is the pH of the water that you throw in your manufacturing? How much recycling do you do on your equipment? I talked to a KOL from Scotland. It's a speaker for the NHS in the UK, and she asked me the question. She came to a factory and she's like, how many of the equipments that you the commission from the hospital do you recycle? I said, like, honestly, I have no idea. And more in the tenders, before, if I understand well, like 5 years ago when I did my first tender event with one of the countries, they said like, yes, there's a couple of questions. Let's say 5% of the questions it's ESG. You get points, but you have good price, good delivery time, good quality. Okay, you win. Nowadays is like 45 45% of the questions is like about ESG, like social responsibility. How many men work in this company? What are the recycling strategies? What are the waste management? So it's like more and more it's the most important thing in the actual industry. Are we taking the right strategies into ESG? That's how they see it right now.
So that affects everything, as you said. So if you need to know what you're producing, then it affects product development, it affects manufacturing decisions. So it's actually part of your day-to-day. Even so, my dentist still throws a lot of plastic out. It's a big concern from your side.
And now it's pushing. And when we say like China produces, for them it's like boom, boom. They have the resources, the speed of production. But now with the ESG regulations, especially Europe, is like, oh, it's slowing it down because you can produce really fast, but your quality, your ways of working, your practices, are they the right ones? No, okay, you don't sell it in my country.
I understand that. If that's okay, if we can shake things up a little bit and move to a different segment, which we call price and gas. And the idea is very, very simple. I'll just throw a couple of few questions out there. And the idea is for you to answer as quickly as possible. Cool. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I had to choose one KPI for production management, which one would it be and why?
Quality.
Yeah, that goes back to the whole thing we were discussing before.
Yeah, quality is simplest thing. You go to a restaurant, call it whatever. You go there because you're hungry, right? You order, in 2 minutes you have the food. You're like, whoa, I don't have to wait any time. But the food is really bad. You still eat it because you were hungry. Now, if it takes really long time, you will be pissed. Okay, but you won't get sick. It will arrive. You're still hungry. You will eat it. If it's really expensive, you can know in advance the price. Like it's really expensive. I don't even go there. But that's for me. Quality is something that yes, you can rework it. You can put more resources. You can, but it's something that already the customer experience. Right now, everything is an experience in the world. Like you want the customer experience, the best hotel, the best trip, the best machine, the best digital thing, the best that you're good. So if it has no quality, for me, it's like, and in production is like you
Okay.
can spend hours producing something with bad quality, is like you have to throw it in the garbage.
Next one. What's harder to fix, a process or a mindset?
Mindset. We say in our business, we fix processes, we don't fix people. When I go to an event, I say we're here to fix the process, not the people. Yeah, but that person is like, we can convince them, we can influence them to do something differently, but you won't change them. There's people like they have mentalities really hard. They can be convinced on some part and they will follow, seeing the colleagues, seeing their peers. Okay, it's working. Okay, a process. You get the facts. Why we need to change them? How we're gonna change them?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what's scarier for you? A machine that stops unexpectedly or a process that runs without people questioning it?
a process that runs without people questioning it. As what I said at the beginning, like it challenges status quo. You can have the machine that electrical failure. You can find the root cause. But if someone is just following the process because he's like that without actually putting a little bit of critical thinking, it's scary for me. It's really scary. It's like, whoa, we're living in the hands of someone that is not even like questioning the
Yes.
process. So that's scary for me.
I think I already know the next one, but do you prefer faster machines or better processes?
Better processes, yeah, a better process. You can, as again, we saw it in BC. Like it was really fast moving goods, chocolate chips. It was amazing for me seeing like these molding machines just molding this
Yeah.
chocolate. And I want to explain people in like, what you were doing before. As like I was following chocolate chips along 70 meters on the cooling tunnel, following the chip, and at the end is like
Mm.
it's like scrap. Let's melt it again.
Mhm.
So good process, and then you can actually work in the machine.
What would you prefer? AI that we talked a little bit about before, AI that predicts breakdowns, or AI that improves decision making?
Predict. I think right now we need to be into predictability and be aware of what's coming and be better prepared because everything goes so fast that something that will tell me. We were joking about this movie, the Minority Report. Remember from Tom Cruise,
Yeah,
2003.
perfectly. I'm from that time.
22 years ago already, they were talking about predictivity. It's science, of course, right?
22 years ago already?
It was from 2003.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's what we said, like all wine, new label. The guy says this has been someone in the past already knew about AI and all these things. So, but predictability can save time, improve the customer experience. Say like, hey, my machine is not working, my internet is not working. It's like, hey, we're calling you because you have a problem in your line. We will fix it before it goes. It's a problem. Hey, you have a problem in your machine. We want to fix it before you have a procedure in your hospital.
What's more challenging, raising three daughters or running a factory?
Raising three daughters.
That's harder, right?
It's. I have the three ages: baby one, toddlerish, and uh, not teenagers. It's really far from teenagers. 7, 4, and 10 months. You have all the moods, all the emotions. It's hard. A factory can have like a lot of people with different moods, But you had good processes, good standard people in reality, in real world, in ideal world, would just follow their work, follow the instructions, do what they need to do, go back home. Raising three daughters, I see it every day. It's a surprise. Everything is new. It's a constant learning for me and for them, I think. I see their, I imagine their brains like absorbing all these that I absorb in 42 years, how they absorbing every day at school in minimum scale, like, and you're like amazed, like, whoa, okay. The questions they ask is unpredictable. At a factory, they can ask you like, hey, the machine stopped or the process stopped, the customer, whatever, the product, the material. You can take some decisions faster. When they come with questions about life, about, you're like, sorry, I didn't expect that.
That is really great. And Oscar, you worked in many different countries before and in different regions, right? You are from Mexico. You work in the US. You work in Belgium. Now you're in France, right? In Bordeaux. That whole international journey, I can imagine you have seen many different work habits and cultures. How do you see that changing from country to country?
So I had the chance to, and I was presenting in a couple of weeks ago. We had to create a slide about us, and I just started counting. I moved 16 times in the last, let's say, 15 years. Countries, continents, cities, houses. Uh, had the chance to not only work but lived in those countries, as you said, Mexico, Belgium, Canada, France, Spain. I work in Italy now, Portugal, and you need to adapt every time. Like, especially in Europe, like I traveled from France to Amsterdam to go to the UK. In one day, you cross three countries, right, in a couple of hours. So you already need to switch the language, the culture, understand how to do a meeting. When I was in Barry but in France, how to do a meeting between the French and the Belgian people that claim to be the best in the chocolate, both of them, and how to approach a meeting in the US is like 7:30 in the morning, boom, boom, boom. What we did yesterday, production, supply chain, quality, maintenance, ta 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 ta. By 8, boom, let's go, continue working. I come to France, it's like slower rhythm, more focus on the content. Let's see, let's challenge, adapting to the culture. Like me, I moved from countries. I'm married to a French citizen, so I had to adapt also to the French culture, learn the language. Uh, and in the industry is like how to approach. I went to Portugal, first time in my life working in Portugal. I had to like, how do I approach this culture? I don't know the culture. I have one Portuguese friend, you. I said, okay, let's see. And I started reading, like, I know we're not supposed to talk about hot topics, but I approached by football analogies in the factory. I said
Oh,
like,
so that's how you gain us.
yeah, because I was like, okay, I know nothing. I know there's Benfica and Porto. Guys, you like football? Like, how do we move this team to the Champions League? And they were like, whoa, okay. So I think I hit the nail. I was like, good, it worked, my analogy. But maybe somewhere else I cannot use football. I hear they like rugby, the US, American football or baseball. I don't know, but it's that different things. Punctuality is different. Uh, uh, Importance is the importance is different in different places. So that's something I really like, cultural and different things on the countries and how to adapt. And it's something that has helped me.
Thank you for listening. And let me just quickly thank today's sponsor, Progro, by asking you this. While listening to this podcast, do you know what is happening on a factory floor? With Progro, you get real time insights from your machines as if you're just talking to them. Download the free app and ask, what is happening with my factory? And a tailor made answer to your production needs will pop up immediately. Also, use our promo code POD1 and you'll get a free IoT device today. You talked a little bit about the languages. That also plays, I can imagine, a big role. At least I'm a little bit different when I speak in Portuguese or in English or in
German.
my German. But when you look at these different regions, let's look at it from a more aggressive perspective. Which one do you think is more advanced? Which one do you think it's more has a the process are more mature, as you said, a crucial process, and the technology adoption is also higher? Which of these region areas do you think are leading a little bit the industrial revolution?
I think that we won't lie to ourselves. The US, they really into technology adoption. They're like faster. It's ingrained in their culture. Like since you're a kid, you're into a lot of information technology. They have phones, tablets. At school, there's a lot of. I've been in schools in the US that you see a lot, all of the technology that when you're in kindergarten is like whoa. So I think the adoption is there. Is it the best? No. I think, as I said, in that balance that needs to be found, meeting that middle point. Europe will do more consensus, will be more like challenging to adopt technologies, but they take their time. So the quality is there. It's more expensive, yes. At least I see it in France. There's really good workers. I'm from Mexico. When I moved from Mexico to the US, I came to the US thinking like, oof, wow. I mean, these guys are like, no, I was working in Mexico. I've seen like Mexico in the production lines, you have engineers working in the production lines. You go to the US, and I was like, okay, we're not that bad, but they have the resources, they have the money. So by region, by adaptability, I never been in Asia. I know they're like really fast, pam, pam, pam. They do stuff, but it's a different mentality. I think in Asia, different mentality in Europe, different mentality in the US. But as I said before, um, the whole concept about developing the technology in the US, regulating the technology, and actually executing the technology in Asia is what makes the difference.
And you talked about Mexico, right? And you were there previously working as an independent consultant.
Yeah.
And I think that was a period of your life where you were no longer working with these huge corporations that we talked about throughout this conversation. And you were working more with SMBs, which, of course, they don't have as many resources and they need to move fast. They need to get results fast. How would you approach this different type of companies? Do you use the same playbook when you look into continuous improvement and transformation, or you have to adapt?
I think that was not everything is has been easy in my career. Let's say
Mhm.
I came from France, from Barry Callebaut, the largest chocolate industry with a lot of resources, with a lot of knowledge. I go back to Mexico and say, okay, I will do my independent practice, and I will use the same models as an industrial. And no, it didn't work. You go to Mexico, and I'm not saying Mexico is not ready for consultants because there's thousands and thousands. It's on my personal experience. I did a couple of projects where I use the same framework. Let's do the diagnose, let's propose the improvements, and then offer the execution. They want results really fast because they don't have that amount of resources to survive longer than an industry like Barry Callebaut. They want these projects to give them return of investments in the next 6 months.
Which is quite different, right? Because you need to implement actions and transformations that give you results so quickly, right?
Yeah, and also you want to survive, so you want to charge. And then it's like, okay, how much do I charge? How much is too much? How much is too less? So you find that model that you say like, hey, a consultant in the US can charge like $500 the hour. That would never happen in Mexico. You're like, okay, I'll charge you by the project for the diagnosis, and then if you want implementation, there's another charge if you want, or otherwise I give you the proposals and you implement them. So it was really hard, and I really hats off for independent consultants because it's double work. You need to find your projects, you need to do the communication, you need to do marketing, you need to do admin, and then you need to work and actually execute and propose, and then you're already tired, and then you need to charge, and then you need to find the next one already while you're doing the other one, and then you're supporting the other one. So it was hard. It was hard. I was not. There was no guidance. I did it by myself. I'm quite happy because I tried. I tried and I saw how it is. Would I do it again? Maybe, but with different approach. Different approach. I think I have more experience now that I can have a different approach.
How do you win a customer over? How do you do that? Like, I'm skeptical. You come to me and you say, I can improve your factory. How do you win me over?
In my framework, in my model, is the help them also understand their process, because a lot of the people, they don't understand. Is like they're successful because they sell a product or a service, and it grows so fast, or it doesn't grow, and when they think they have this super product, super service, but they don't understand their own process. As you said, like the business, is it really selling the product, or is really the internal things? How do I buy? How do I do this intercompany sales? Or how do I do the marketing? Is it like the commodities? Am I selling a product, or I'm like making money out of the other components? And that's
Yeah.
how you need to bring the people in, and help them understand their own process. If
Mm.
they're calling you, it's because they have this need, right? Me, I don't know the company that I was working for as a project. I came and said, like, I know you sell liquor. It was a liquor company. Let's go and see it. And I start working in the factory and the little things, making notes, and it's like, look, this is what I saw. It's not possible. It's like, work with me. Let's go to the floor. I will talk to the guys. Like, no, wait, because then you will kill the whole project. So it's helping understand what they need. And that's what the diagnosis can be, like the tricky part. If you're as a business consultant, and for your business could be like, okay, I will give it for free, because then you will
Yeah.
buy
So
me
you're doing the assessment and the diagnosis for free, and then you don't know if you're going to win the project after
yeah,
that. So you
yeah,
might be spending a lot of your time and effort there.
yeah,
So how you have to be really confident that diagnosis will going to prevail. How
yeah,
do you do that?
yeah. So it's part of the experience that I had, that one of the projects I was paid the whole trip, and the hotel, the food. Part of the project was paid. We give you, like, because I charge a fee, but almost it was almost for free, right? But you need to be really confident in, as you said, like, this is what you need to do, and that's the hard part to convince, because you need to convince not not the people that are doing the process, but the actual owners, that sometimes they're like, yeah, it's their job, they should do it anyways. It's like, it's hard, so that's why I said consulting, it's a hard thing.
And now, when you look at a little bit to the future, Oscar, and you start seeing, we talked about artificial intelligence, data, automation, different regions, M&A. You talked about Industry 5.0, which far away. So when you look at these trends, how do you see actually the production lines evolving and the production floor evolving?
I think more than the production lines evolving, what it's shaping the future will be, right now, as I see it, the supply chain. Supply chain is a critical thing everywhere. We saw it 2 years ago with the um, lack of cargo. Remember, you couldn't ship anything. It was okay. Change your strategy, resiliency. Let's. You need to, like, really create that. Create the resilience in your strategy to say, like, if something comes, what do we do? Do we accept to have like, stock in our inventory? Well, there's a lot of money, but yeah, but then you will be able to deliver. What happened with the microchips scarcity? It was not about who pays the most. It was the producers. It was like the logistics that I can deliver it to my relationships that I built. I will give to that person in my strategy, because I know it's a good customer. Is that part, like, those relationships? For me, the supply chain, uh, we need to start thinking more into global to regional right now. Maybe in the next 2 3 years, we don't know.
Mhm.
Are we a global company that everything needs to be shipped from my? No, let's do it regional. Maybe in the strategy, and in 3 years, let's switch it. But that resilience, knowing how to change, that's how I feel it in the future operations.
So you see a lot of flexibility, right? In terms of the microchips, also there was, I think, they were very dependent on a certain supplier, and you want to have flexibility, but are we going to automate more? Are we going to have more humans? Because humans still seem to be the most flexible thing you can have. How do you see that happening?
I think eventually we're going back to more humans.
No, seriously. So we're
Yeah,
going back.
I
Okay.
think we're going back to humans because for example, well, again, the complexity of the market.
Complexity is definitely going up, right? So
Yeah,
that's no
yeah,
question.
especially in the European Union, like complexity is just keeps increasing. I was in the US. You're driving around. I was driving around this town in Ohio. You see like a lot of looking for people, jobs. It's like everywhere. And we ask colleagues, and it's like, yeah, we're in lack of people. We need more people, and it goes back to the human factor. We're like speed, more money, more revenue, more revenue, more revenue. But it's like we need to take care of the people. Like there's a lot of technologies that still we don't have the resources to put the technology. We should train the people, skill up the people. We keep up talk about the retention of the people, skill them up, train them, give them education, give them that like I want to stay in this company, and in general in all companies.
And now, if you look into someone starting their career right now, let's look at a young engineer or a project leader. When we look at this mindset that is always changing, as you said, how would you advise him to where to focus on, which skills and mindset to bring in?
That's an interesting one. I'm an engineer, so we like stuff. We like machines. We like seeing it. So I've been always really curious. I always tell people, be curious, ask questions. Don't just accept what they tell you. Ask the questions. In the production floor, that's the main thing. When you're trying to solve a problem, we use this simple thing, the 5 whys.
Mm.
Ask 5 times, and you will get to the root cause. A
Exactly.
kid, a kid will ask you questions. I always tell people, be kids again. The kids will, my daughters will ask me questions, and why? Because yeah, but why? Because yeah, but why? Yeah, because yeah, yeah. And then until they find it. So as a young engineer, someone looking for a job, something like where to go in my career from high school, it's be curious on what you want to do. If you're already working, if you want to understand something, ask the questions. It was really interesting that one of the guys that presented last week was demystifying the AI. Like it's nothing new. We had Encyclopedia Britannica that you go on search for information. You used to have other things you go for information. Then you had the internet and you go for information. Then people were like, how do you do this? Ask Google. Now, ask ChatGPT, ask Copilot, ask Gemini. So now more, I wish we had this kind of access to information when we were younger. As a young engineer, as a young person looking for something where to go, there's a lot of information. But with the information comes a lot of responsibilities. It's about searching and looking for what you want to do. I want to be a mechanical engineer. What is a mechanical engineer? What do they do? I never knew when I was studying mechanical engineering that business transformation and continuous improvement thing existed. I discovered it in Barry Callebaut when I was doing process engineering. So, an advice: be curious. That's what I tell people all the time.
Yeah, and you touched that on a lot of points that I think actually lead to our last question from our side. Is when you look at your third daughter that just had her, and you look at this fast changing rules of engagement in the corporate world, access to information, how we treat information. Um, how do you think about education?
These are the kind of discussions I had with my wife at different ways of education we had in Mexico and in France. That she said, like, I didn't have a lot of orientation on what to do. She's an lawyer, so she said I was a lawyer because like he was in my family being in that area. Me, I had a different education. I was like, what do you like? This? Are you sure? Yes. Okay, go ahead. But I saw, for example, what I studied in Mexico, one of the largest technological universities, private school. They're closing campuses, universities in the country. There were like 30 something campuses in the country. They're closing down because the actual model of education is changing. Young people, they don't want the same model like go to school, graduate, be an employee, grow in the professional ladder, be a director. That's it. They want more. You see it right now. They want to be independent. The famous financial freedom. I want to be my own boss. I want to work when I want. The digital nomads. I want to live in Cancun and work from my apartment. So with my daughters, they're still young. I mean, luckily, the oldest one, she likes school. I like when they wake up or there's holidays and they're like, when do we go back to school? At least I'm like, okay, they like school. But I will make sure, and I hope I can be a good uh, guidance. I will do my best, and of course, what they want to study, what they want to go in life, but also guide them and from my experience, show them my own example. Like you can be wherever you want. There's no limits. Guy from Mexico moved to the US, met a French in Canada, moved to France and got married. Now have three daughters working for American companies. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of my daughters one day comes and like, hey, dad, meet my boyfriend from I don't know
Somewhere.
where. Yeah, I couldn't say like, oh, come on, no. So education will be really, I hope I can guide them. That would be, but it's changing. It cannot be the same traditional model.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Traveling and living in different places, countries, cultures, religions, getting to know all of that. I think it's the best way for us to get along. Oscar, I cannot thank you enough. It was super fun to have you on this podcast. Thank you for supporting also our cause here of sharing knowledge, and it was really super fun. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. It was really nice. It was first time in doing this, and I really enjoyed it. I follow you on the social network, LinkedIn, and your company. I find what you're doing is really, really great for the industry, and I know it will explode.
Join our connected shop floor communities on LinkedIn and Reddit, and subscribe our channels.